Let's go!
From Nintendo and Illumination.
The Super Mario Brothers can take care of the kingdom.
Comes a super-powered adventure. On April 1st.
Pack our things.
The galaxy gets even bigger.
He knows that's my bike, right?
Yes, sir.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rated PG. Only theaters April 1st. Get tickets now.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Introducing Virtuo Up, the latest in a long line of innovation from Nespresso. It's innovation you can touch, sense, and taste in every single cup. With a 3-second start, easy open lever, and dedicated brew over ice button, it's even easier to enjoy your coffee your way. Sip for yourself. Shop Virtuo Up exclusively at Nespresso.com.
It's Deprogrammed, the podcast where we try to get you into a band. That's right. We've done all the work for you. All you have to do is press play and listen. My name is Justin, and normally on Deprogrammed, that is what would happen. We would talk about a band, and we would come up with a top 10 starter kit list for you to get into said band. If this is your first time here and you somehow stumbled across a daily, I'd appreciate you hitting subscribe. So, slight change of plans to anybody who's been listening all week. I was going to do a Earworm Wednesday today, but instead, I decided I'm going to do, because Deprogrammed Year 1 went over really well yesterday, I'm going to do Deprogrammed Year 2 today. We will do Earworm Wednesday next week, because Joe actually gave me some songs that he wanted me to listen to. So I'm going to listen to those and include them in my Earworm Wednesday next week. So yesterday we talked about year 1, which was 2016, which, simple math says 2017 is next. And 2017's a rough year in the history of Deprogrammed. So it is what amounts to the second half of RFR's existence, Radio Free Radio, which we talked about yesterday. And again, Deprogrammed wasn't supposed to be anything, and you would be able to tell that it probably wasn't by the end of our 2017 run, that it was probably never going to happen again. We'll get to that. But interestingly enough, I tossed out the idea of a best of for 2016 because I was having trouble booking anything. Yeah, I took the week off of Christmas, and then the next week we came back with best of. And initially I was trying to get anybody and everybody involved in it, and Fredo was the only one who signed up. And that's how the best ofs became just Fredo and I for, the good first 6 years, I think, maybe 5 or 6. No, actually, it was probably less than that. It was like 4. I think the first 4, maybe 5. I don't know. I don't know. Because I know that Randy and John came in, 3 years ago was the last one with all of them, and they had done 4 in a row. So yeah, I guess it would have been 4 of just Fredo and I. But this was the first one, 2016. And of course, it isn't completely rounded out, the way it would evolve to. I think by now in the show, so 2 weeks later we do Soundgarden. So I think now we're getting into the point where it is trying to turn somebody onto the band becomes part of the pitch. We still haven't really refined the rules. We still haven't, I think we've moved from the initial 10, it was supposed to be 10, a list of 10, and then 10 backups is how a good number of those first episodes went, specifically the Pumpkins. So by now it's just a list of 20. And again, it's an attempt to turn somebody onto the show. And Soundgarden, I think, is the only time Jenny and Fredo crossed paths on the show. The one and only time. They Might Be Giants was right behind that on the 24th. And we're still in the studio clubhouse at this point. And this is the second time I've ever gotten I can't believe I wasn't on this episode. Like the first being Brian Lewis, just absolutely stunned that he wasn't on the Pumpkins episode. And then Matt Thomas of Ugliography fame, absolutely stunned he wasn't on the They Might Be Giants episode. And the one thing I always say to like that, firstly, it let me know that the show was something that people wanted to be a part of, which I don't think I had particularly clocked yet at this point. At this point, you know, again, my brain is being split into like all these different directions between the different shows I'm doing, between just the station operation, all this stuff. Like Deprogrammed is kind of backseat, minus the fact that I'm listening to the music and trying to book the show. So it's kind of morphed into, at least now, like decide your own level of involvement, because I can't chase people down. And so it's always kind of been that way. Like, again, I didn't think of Matt Thomas mostly because I was just thinking about, I need to get this show on the air, not who is going to be on it. So another fun episode there is Britney Spears. We did the next week, and I always like doing those pop episodes because it is just that. It's just fun poppy music. And then, there's a nice jump here. That was the last week of January. And then we don't do a show for 3 weeks. I don't know if I couldn't book anything or I was just taking time off. Like, because one of them would have been Valentine's Day. So I just didn't do a show on Valentine's Day. Now that I record ahead of time, it would just come out. But we would have been live on Valentine's Day. And, you know, who's going to do that? But we did Sick Man of Virginia here. And this is our first foray into covering a local band and trying to give them some run. And so if you've not heard our Sick Man of Virginia episode, I highly recommend that. I highly recommend fans of Ween for sure would be into Sick Man of Virginia. They're great. Good dudes. Roxy Music there. Queens of the Stone Age. Not a Surf is another only one other person episode. So whenever these come up, I'm always thinking of ways, like, I think this format would be a way for us to revisit Not a Surf, Limp Bizkit, Blink-182, like the idea of them getting an actual full panel to talk about the band. And it was John from the Daycations was on that episode, and it was fun, obviously, but
When you want your spring break to feel like and your kids' pool day to feel like and your hotel bed to feel like ooh, and room service to feel like, because at Hilton, hospitality feels like
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
it matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
Picture this, a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
you feel like the band gets a little robbed in those situations. You know, my wife is always pointing out, like, for Hanson, the same thing. Like, she's insisting I do like a full-on Hanson episode I don't know. I mean, but having this might be a way to revisit that idea. We did a Stevie Wonder Part 1 there. Justin Timberlake, again, those saccharine pop acts, super fun. Afghan Wigs, we had Bob Skype in at the time. The Flaming Lips. So Peter returns to the show. This might only be Peter's second episode because he did Faith No More in year 1. And the Flaming Lips is the first time where we're covering band. It's Peter and Matt Wade, and I can't break apart the songs. Like it became hard to cover the band in this way because it felt like so many of the albums kind of just worked together. Metallica, my friend Talbert, that's his first episode. The Monkees, we did another local act, Uglyography, in May. So at this point, we're still in the studio clubhouse for the Monkees and Uglyography, and then we did Gorillaz. And then, yeah, I guess the end of May is when we moved. So this is kind of a huge moment in the show because it kind of changes the energy that I can put into the show. We did Ween at the studio clubhouse in Norfolk. Well, at the whatever, I don't know if we had a name, the studio in Norfolk. And it was a big move, and in theory was the right move. We won't get into all the whys and whats of why it ended up being wrong. But Ween happens. I had Matt Hallman of Sick Man on that episode. And then Joe Welch called in, and I dumped him off the phone, but I think he was trying to be on the show, and I just didn't clock it. And I think it's actually Matt Hallman and Matt Thomas on Ween. Having a hard time remembering that. Huge memory, we did Stone Temple Pilots next, is I threw out Unglued, I think, as the first, no, it was Tumble in the Rough I threw out first because I thought for sure I was going to land one of the guys. It was the guys from Pissed Sports, which is Corey O'Neill and James Clark, and it went right into the bin, right off rip. It goes into the bin. And that is in June of that year. The next week we do Depeche Mode, which, funnily enough, ends up being like the most depressing episode. I think it was just so much misses, and I mean, of course, the music, but I was super depressed because I could see that the station was falling to pieces, and it was really hard for me to stay on top of booking my shows and what was going on with the station. Yeah, because there's only 2 left here. We did Propagandy next. And then we closed out with Car Seat Headrest, was the very last episode that we did in 2017. And that's the end of July. And it was the very last thing to happen at that studio. Because after we finished it, this is well before we started doing the After the Facts. This is well before, like, again, the show has morphed at this point to try and get somebody in. So it's no longer just kind of, hey, we really like this band. And obviously at this point, my wife was very correct. I had to start taking on bands that I wasn't aware of. Now, Car Seat Headrest is not one of those bands because I was very well aware of them. We had them on my old show, Your Music Show, which you can still find the video of them playing in DJ's Kitchen on YouTube, and they've both done rather well. And I'd heard a good portion of their music from Bandcamp when we were still doing that show like regularly. So they weren't brand new to me, but it was interesting to kind of have that tie and have this be the last. I think this was Matt Thomas as well, Matt Thomas and James Duvall we're on this one. And Matt leaves, and as soon as, so this is the interesting tidbit, after the show is over, that episode, we finish, I log off, we go off air, and as soon as that happens, I started taking apart the studio. And as soon as the studio is taken apart, I drive to Matt Wade's house and put all the stuff in his garage and go home. I don't get home until probably like 2 or 3 in the morning that day, and that's the end of RFR. That's the end, I presume, of Deprogrammed. At that point, I'm resigned to the fact that it was just part of the station and it was going to just be done. Again, this is July of 2017, and I think it's over, and that's going to be the end of it, and that's 2017 in July. If you guys are still interested, I'm considering probably doing at least 2018 and possibly 2019. I'll probably stop there. Because I think maybe 2019 is where like the last kind of rule changes go into place and the show kind of morphs into what it is now. But yeah, that's year 2 of Deprogrammed. If you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. Tomorrow, of course, is a brand new episode of Deprogrammed, and on Friday I will do a Q&A. Lots of questions in the Discord. With that, how did I already forget the sign off for this? We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.